So I got my new graphics cards in the mail, and before I install them in my new rig, I figured I would give you guys a quick review. It's the GTX 980. This is a Superclocked edition with the ACX cooler. It's the ACX 2.0. They've overclocked this card a little bit. They've brought it up to 1266 on the base clock and 1367 on the boost clock, but this is a dynamic clock, so in certain games you'll see it get way higher, in certain games it'll be slower. There's 4 gigabytes of GDDR5 memory, and the memory clock is effectively 7010 megahertz. Memory bandwidth is 224.3 gigabytes per second. So they've raised this to 140 megahertz on the base clock and about 151 megahertz on the boost clock. It's a freaking GTX 980. It's fast already, so they've made it even faster. The ACX cooler 2.0, plenty of fins, you know, lots of heat pipes touching directly onto the core. And what makes this really special is they've gone in and just tweaked it a little bit, made it a little bit better than last time. Whereas before you had 9 fan blades, now you have 11. More's not always better, but they have, you know, really decent design here. Some swept fan blades to help move a lot of air and keep the noise down. It doesn't even really kick on until you get up into the 60s, 70s, somewhere in that range, and then the fans kick on. Until then, it just sits there. It's not even doing anything. While you're in Windows, not doing anything. Playing an indie game, it's not doing anything. So their fan versus the stock, here's what they're advertising. 20% lower GPU temperatures versus the reference, 36% quieter versus reference, 250% lower fan power consumption versus reference, and 400% longer lifespan. This also does have the 3-phase 6-slot motor design, double ball bearings on the inside, so it is just a more premium designed product. All right, the dimensions, 4.376 inches by 10.5 in length. In millimeters, that's 111.15 millimeters high and 266.7 millimeters long. And it is, of course, it's a dual slot. I suppose you want to hear the power consumption. So at full load, you're going to be pulling about 315 to 320 watts of power with this card. And if you do like an overclock on your own, you can push this thing. You can, you know, overvolt it if you want to using the Precision X software. But if you do that, you can get up into the 350 range. So just make sure your power supply can handle it. Also, the temps and the sound. So at full load, the automatic fan was keeping it at around 75. If you turn the fan up to 100%, it'll take it down to 52 degrees. So it does not get that hot. And with automatic fans, that's how I'm going to use mine. 41 decibels was the sound. All right, the last thing that this card supports is the dynamic super resolution technology. Basically allows you to have 4K on a 1080p monitor, but that doesn't make any sense. All right, well, right now you're watching this video. In the camera, it's doing 4K. It's actually capturing 4K worth of pixels, and then it's converting it to 1080p, because 4K downsampled to 1080p actually looks a little bit better than 1080p. Now, of course, this is going to tax your graphics card a lot because you got 4K being downsampled to 1080p, so you're rendering 4K and all that stuff. But for a lot of games, this card can run 4K, especially if you're going to be running SLI. I tested it out a little bit. You can tell. Sitting back from the monitor a little bit, I couldn't tell that much, so I generally kept the dynamic super resolution technology turned off. Plus, I gave it 1440p, and I kind of like that. All right, guys, let's talk about the test bench we have here. We've got the X99 classified motherboard from EVGA. We've got the Intel 5960X, that's the 8-core on there. We've got 16 gigabytes of Corsair DDR4 memory, also the Corsair H105. For the hard drive, we've got the Kingston HyperX 3K 240 gigabyte SSD, Fractal 1000 watt Tesla power supply, and on top of that, the graphics card. All right, we benchmarked a smattering of games. I think a very interesting smattering of games at 1440p and 1080p. So in Valley at 2560 by 1440, running in the highest settings. The score was 1777, and it did pretty good. It dropped down to 19.2 FPS, which is a little rough. At 1080p though, 68.2 was the max, 2855, and it got down to 24.1. BioShock Infinite, 2560 by 1440. You know, it's pretty good. It's slightly better than the 780 Ti. Again, we maxed this out at DirectX 11 with all the effects and everything like that. 1080p, looking pretty good at 102 frames a second, so not too bad there. All right, Lichdom is a Cryengine 3 game, so we wanted to test that one out. And at 1440p, you can see there it's doing pretty good. I like the fact that if you look at the high and the low on this one, 51, and then 49 is the low. Very smooth and consistent frame times on this. Very, very nice. And the same goes for 1080p. I mean, it's really good to see that at 1440p. 1080p, 84 max and 81 is the low. Really nice. All right, let's play some Thief, an AMD optimized game, but why not play it here at 1440p? Again, very nice and smooth. 59 and 48 was the low. That benchmark does have a few areas where it dips down a bit. At 1080p, the dip is a little bit more apparent, but still, it never drops below 60 at 1080p, so looking pretty damn good. All right, let's check out The Vanishing of Ethan Carter. This is an Unreal Engine game, and it looks completely beautiful. You know, this game runs so much better than Skyrim, and it looks way better than Skyrim as far as the forests, you know, and that sort of thing goes. I just want to point out that this is what happens when you make a PC game for the PC. You get a game that looks as good as this and runs as good as this. At 1440p, we're over 100 frames per second, and it looks beautiful. At 1080p, we're at like 158. This is what I expected, like, from a Source Engine game or something, not an Unreal Engine game. Really impressive. All right, Trine 2. At 1440p, 57.36 frames per second. And at 1080p, 98 frames per second. You know, last I decided to do a little bit of Max Payne 3 because that game eats up a lot of video memory. So 1440p, looking pretty good. Really well optimized. Almost 150 frames per second. And 1080p, still, it's not that much of a difference. So, I mean, it's 161 versus 148, so not that bad. All right, so there you have it. You know, it's a beast. That's why I'm using it. And I've got 2 of these, so we'll do the SLI benchmarks coming up very soon. I want to know how many of you guys out there have one of these. I want to know what your favorite cooling unit is. I'm very curious. You know, I haven't used all of them out there on the market. You know, I've used this one in the Asus, and that's pretty much it for the 980s. I've used just about everything when it comes to the 780 Ti's and the 290Xs and that sort of thing. But yeah, I just have had really good luck with the ACX cooling unit, so I'm sticking with it. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and post them on the forum. And if you guys want to keep the video of me stuttering, go ahead and be sure to click on tech support because I'm terrible at that kind of stuff. It's marketing. Truck going by, so it's time to end. This video has bad ending. Yes. Bad ending video. Oh Lord, Recris! Yeah! All right, guys, let's talk about the test bench we have here.